Hey guys, so this is episode 3 of Coach Talks. Unfortunately, last week we did plan to have Phoenix Fitness on. We were going to have Matt on the podcast. Unfortunately, he is busy today, so we are going to record at some point during the week. We don't know when, but hopefully that'll be out at some point in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So we are going to cover just a bit of an update on ourselves for this week. There hasn't really been much going on. And then we're going to get into a few ways you can manage stress during lockdown, which is obviously going to be quite relevant for many of you. And also training motivation and a few questions at the end.
Yeah, sounds good. So hopefully we can dive into a couple of those topics and, get into a decent bit of detail without rambling on too much. Just a quick update on myself, last week. Not too much has happened really. Obviously being in lockdown, there's not too much that can go on. Training's all good. I'm, still training push-pull legs. It's going really well. Where I can progress, adding extra weight here and there, I'm taking it. I'm taking it there. I have just managed to get hold of a bit of gym kit as well. So I've got an axle bar, not the ideal bit of a kit, but I've got an axle bar and a couple of plates now. So hopefully looking to progress a lot easier and a lot better. Other than that, sort of 2 weeks ago, I dropped sort of into a slight deficit, sort of maybe just to prime myself a bit more, shed some fat, I guess, for when the gyms reopen. I can smash it hard and then go into a good long sort of off-season gaining phase. So all of that's ticking along nicely. It's coming off quite nice. I put an update on my Instagram the other day at 83 odd kilos, the best I've sort of looked at 83 kilos, I think, in my opinion. Other than that, not too much has gone on in the last week.
Yeah, nice. I mean, obviously I'm in a slightly different situation to Joe. I do have kit, a bit more than he does. So I've been doing upper, lower, and a shoulders and arms day. They are my weaker points, so I am having an extra day for them, but that's been going quite well. This week I managed to get some racks. They're not proper lifting racks, but they are kind of metal trestles, and they're only 50 quid, so really, really works very well. So I've got squats back in the program now, dealing with a couple of elbow issues currently, and they have done in the past, but just working on that. So hopefully we'll be able to push that up quite nicely during lockdown. In terms of food, I am currently around 100 kilos and in a better position than the first time I was at 100 kilos in terms of body composition. So I think I am going to be pushing up body weight. So pushing food up slowly, hopefully put on a few kilos in the next month or so.
Yeah, for sure. You've definitely got room to push up. I think, be cool to see what you look like at 105. So, if any of you guys aren't following his Instagram, do that, because that'd be cool. So do I guess, just dive straight into the first topic. So we're going to go through how to manage stress during lockdown first, I think. And we're going to sort of briefly talk about training stress, and then more importantly, sort of the lifestyle stress. Now we are in this sort of situation where we can only go out for essentials, not knowing when sort of it's going to be laxed off, and everything's going to sort of start returning back to normal. A lot of people aren't working, etc. Stress is going to be abnormally high in most households. So I think we'll go over a few almost coping mechanisms as to how you can cope with the stress of every day and how we do it as well.
Yep, sounds good. So training stress. Now, obviously that's taking into account how much volume you're doing in your training. And generally for most people, obviously equipment is limited. So you probably won't have too much of a training stress unless you are doing a lot of work, which is why we're not touching on it too much. Obviously, if you were in a gym and you had the ability to load very, very heavily, then there is a massive training stress, which obviously causes that physical stress to your body, but that physical stress can also kind of correlate to psychological stress as well. Um, but yeah, there isn't going to be much of a training stress necessarily for many people in the situation that we are in. I don't know about yourself, what you were going to comment on that.
The only thing I was going to sort of add in there is, as we previously stated, sort of in the muscle growth episode that we did last week. So if you haven't watched that, go and check that one out, because we do go into sort of one of the best ways with coping with the training stress. Whether it's increased volume, intensity, whatever you're doing at home is recovery. And we do go into a lot of detail sort of on the recovery side of things, but in this episode we sort of want to focus it on the everyday lifestyle stress. So the number one thing would be to, with training stress, sort of focus on your recovery. So focus on your sleep, focus on your food, and focus on getting yourself into that parasympathetic state, nice and relaxed state after post workout, before sort of eating or then going and doing anything else, and that will help manage your stress. But we're going to focus more on the lifestyle side today. So if you wanted to start off on that one, it'd be great.
Yeah, obviously, I don't think many of us have been in a situation like this before. You are stuck with the same people in the same place, and you are very isolated from everyone else. You do still have the contact with other people. That is great. It's good that we have that technology to be able to still I can talk to you face to face, well, online. But it's not the same, and stress does build up. And I'm sure you've experienced it. I've definitely experienced it, and I know personally, before all of this happened, I'm a very, very positive person. I don't normally have many say mental issues, but yeah, the stress does build up, and it is something that is very important to manage, because it can get over the top, and really bring you down. Um, yeah, so things that I've done to improve, manage my stress, making the most of my one walk of the day, that one bit of outdoor exercise. Now, if you are having to train outside, then and you're having to go somewhere else to train, whether it's like a park or just a field, obviously that does count as your one walk of the day. But if you are training at home and you can still go out for that one walk, I would definitely encourage it. I've tried to get into somewhat of a routine. Um, I think Joe will touch on routines in a minute, but yeah, getting into somewhat of a routine with my walks, getting them the same time each day, so I can plan everything around that. But yeah, going out for a short walk, potentially popping on a podcast, and just taking my mind away from being in the same place, same people, and just going somewhere else, really, really helps me just reset the clock. If my stress is super high, out I go. And then when I come back, I can start again. My mind is fresh, and I can really see things in a clearer mind.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. You definitely touched on my two main things about managing sort of the everyday stress in this situation. So my main two, as you said, would be making the most of that time that you do get outside, and routines. So sort of what I mean by routines now is because we're in the same place every single day, we're seeing the same people. As Joel did say, stress can get very high. Whether that's friction between whoever you're living with, or just stressing about work, money, etc. It does get very elevated, and can get very elevated very quickly. So a routine, I would say, my personal favorite routine sort of for this type of thing is every single day, wake up, then even if it's the simplest things, wake up, make your bed, brush your teeth. Most people will be in those routines anyway. And then we can start, we add things to those routines. So if we wake up, brush our teeth, then we maybe go back down, sit down, do 10, 15 minutes of meditation. Um, I'll just say this now. My other thing would be making the most of the technology that we do have. Most of us have access to phones, so we can download apps, whether it's meditation app. We've got access to the internet, YouTube. We can go on guided meditation videos. Meditation is a very good way to manage anxiety and stress, especially in these times. So, as a routine, if you're waking up, you're doing 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes of meditation in the morning. And if that's every single day, sooner or later, you're going to see the benefits. Then, having breakfast, training at the same time every single day, eating at similar times every single day, even going down and sort of down to that 1 hour of exercise, keeping that sort of very regular. I tend to go out same time every day, between two, I not, I don't go out between 2 and 4, but I would leave the house sort of sometime between 2 and 4 pretty much every day for that hour of exercise. Then come back, eat, pre-bed routines, so sleep routines like we talked about in the last podcast, and then just drilling it into your body every single day, and then sooner or later you will start seeing the benefits. And then with being sort of out and about, make the most of that by actually being present in that time. With it being only a very short amount of time that we can be out, make sure that you're staying present within the time that you do go out for a walk, or you do go out for your 1 hour of outside activity. So whether that's pop a podcast on headphones, maybe go and sit somewhere and do some meditation, or anything sort of like that, or maybe even as simple as just do not take your phone. I think that then can allow you to really sort of think about what's going on at the moment, sort of your time management. Then maybe you can even start to think about other things that you can add to your routine during that time. But those would sort of be my top 3, I guess, tips on how I would manage stress during this time.
Yeah, I think that's really really good. I think what you mentioned there about being present when you are kind of out and about is really really I've really really kind of got in. It sounds strange, but I've got in contact with myself. It's that kind of
Yeah.
mental thing. But thankfully, I live by the beach. I'm very very grateful for that, and I've definitely appreciated it more that we are in lockdown. So simply a 5-minute walk, and I can see the horizon, the sea, the cliffs. It's beautiful.
It's calming.
But that kind of thing, yeah, exactly. Just pop on a podcast, but as soon as I get to somewhere that I just want to I don't want to go straight back home, because I know that's where I'm going to be for the next, say, 23 hours. It's not fun. As much as I love my family, they piss me off sometimes. So it's not great. But getting out and just staying out for a while, yeah, like you said, that kind of a little bit of meditation. But you got your music in, you got your podcast on, just pause it, just stop, just sit down and just have a think. And I really really think that's helped me manage my stress. It's just been a time to think about things that I need to do during the day, things that I haven't done, things that are going on, and just kind of take a step back and just think, okay, we're not in a great situation, but there's not much I can do about it. And that comes to another point I was going to bring up. I saw something the other day about not worrying about the things you can't control. There's no point getting stressed about things you can't control. Obviously, there will be things that you can't control, and you do get stressed about them. It's human nature. But obviously, you do want to try your best to try and just kind of say, okay, I can't control that. What can I do to try and maybe make that better? Like I said, kind of getting into a routine, you can do that. But it's also just allowing yourself to have some downtime. People do get stressed, and it's okay to get stressed, but don't kind of allow yourself to slip into that kind of mindset every single day, every hour of the day. Just do something. If you can be stressed for a while, and then I think as soon as you've kind of been in that state for a while, you've had to think about it, do something different. As soon as you do a different activity, even though you might have to force yourself to do it and you won't enjoy it initially, I think getting yourself into another mindset of doing something, a different activity, really helps. Whether that's I don't know, you're doing some uni work and you go and play some Xbox. okay, maybe it's not the best in terms of productivity for your uni work, but it is that mental kind of, it's that change of activity that is going to kind of just refresh your mind. You get back to it. Obviously, you do need that kind of self control to stop yourself having so many breaks and having that refresh. But yeah, no, it's definitely something I found has helped me, just changing activities regularly.
Yeah, yeah. I think as I said, making the most out of technology and stuff, but phone calls, man, just like talk to people. Obviously we come on here. If we come on at 4:30, we don't start recording until what 5:10, and
Yeah,
we talk, we catch up, roughly plan out the podcast, and then stuff. But with the sort of with the big sort of connection that we have now in this modern day sort of age, um, talk to your friends, call them, FaceTime, video chat, whatever. Even if it's just as simple as a text. If you're feeling it, I'm sure someone else in that group is going to be feeling it too. So, you know, go on and rant. Just pick up
yeah,
the phone,
definitely.
call someone, and just rant to them. Then let them rant back at you. I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, Obviously, there's going to be a lot more techniques that you have yourself. But yeah, look online. If I'm going to have to get to the point where I need to currently, most of my things that I do are all right, apart from just a work routine. I'm not very good at doing work or sticking to it. And it sounds strange, like you need to try different things, but just go online, have a quick search of, I don't know, focus techniques or stress relievers, like simple things like that, and you will find a plethora of things. Some things will work, some things won't. Just give it a try, and eventually you will find something that works for you.
Yeah, that's good. And if you guys have any, sort of techniques that we haven't mentioned or whatnot, drop them in the comments because like you said, we'll be looking for them eventually. Don't be afraid to just drop them in the comments, and it might actually help one of us out. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we'll just jump on to our second topic now, which will
Yep.
be just training motivation. Um, you know, I've certainly had a few questions over the last few weeks about how to stay motivated, whilst training at home, whilst having limited kit, whilst not being able to overload, etc. So I think we'll probably dive into a couple of good techniques that we both use, and how we sort of stay motivated during this period of time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely relevant. It is an added stress. All the things you can control. Normally, going to the gym would be something that you could control, but now you can't. You can't go to the gym. You can't train where you want to train. And even if you are, say, someone who does calisthenics, you're all body weight and you've got the equipment, you probably wouldn't do it at home. You probably go somewhere else and do it. You might go to a park, or you might go to the gym and actually do the calisthenics at the gym. And just going somewhere else is part of that routine. It really, it's really important, and it does kind of, not being able to do that does drop my it drops my training motivation personally. Having to train in my house, outside my house, it's not as exciting, and I'm not in the right mindset to do so. So yeah,
But like you said
using some,
before, you're there 24 hours a day, aren't you? So it's,
yeah, exactly.
uh,
Um, but yeah, a couple of training motivation techniques you can use are goal setting and having a routine. So I don't know which one you wanted to touch on, and
yeah, I
I'll
can
do the
go
other one.
goal setting. I
Yep.
can go the first one straight out. I think it's hard to narrow this one down just to sort of training at home and training sort of during this period, because I think this is one of, if not the best, training motivation techniques is the use of goal setting. You know, short term, long term, medium term goals. I know, short, medium, and long term goals. Using all three of these, it is one of the best ways to make sure you are consistently motivated. So sort of what I mean by that is, setting short-term goals. For me personally, this would be training. So it would be hitting numbers So if I got a set of weighted press ups and I got 15 reps the first time, this would be then beating that by 1 or 2 reps the next time. So I would say to myself, I would write in my logbook, my short-term goal for next week would be to get 18 reps on this set and, 16 reps on this set, 15 reps on this set. I would consistently be looking to progress those numbers over on a weekly basis. And my medium-term goal, then would be in this dieting phase, we could bring it to that, would be to drop to 18 kilo, drop to, between 75 and 80 kilos around the 78 kilo mark. Which,
not 18 kilos.
not 18 kilos, no. No, definitely. Well, it'll be good going. It would be, 75 and 80 kilos within, the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And then my long-term goal, eventually one day compete. I think, using this training motivation, using this will keep you consistently. I now wake up in the morning, I weigh myself and I'll be like, sweet, I'm here. Let's set another one. Let's do that. Let's go further. Let's go, harder. I train. I'm like, sweet, I got 15 reps. Bang. Next week, I'm going to get 18. And it's just that consistently looking for progress, whether it's in the next week, whether it's in the next 10 weeks, or whether it's in the next 2 years. I think that's for me personally, that is one of the most important things. And also it keeps it fresh. Goal setting does keep it fresh because you're not going to have those goals forever. If you've got those goals forever, then something should probably change. The sort of hitting a goal makes you feel great and you want to keep going for it. And then as soon as you've hit that goal, you then set yourself another goal. That's another challenge. That's how it keeps it fresh. That's how it keeps it appealing. And that's how it stays motivating. I know we said that we would touch afterwards briefly on how we stay motivated, but I think for me, that is number one.
Yeah. Talking about goal setting, obviously for you've just spoken about yourself, but for me, having the new trestles as a rack for my bar, I can now set some more like short-term goals on, okay, actually I'm getting back into barbell bench again. I want to hit some certain numbers. And that might only happen in the next 3-4 weeks, but you set that goal and then you will make a plan around that goal to meet that goal. And like Joe said, if that goal has been your goal for a long time, well, what are you doing to get there? And obviously that's why you have the medium and the short-term goals to break it down as steps to get to that long-term goal.
Good.
Yeah, touching on workout routines, that's obviously, it comes back again to managing stress. It's a routine, like I said about before. Training at home doesn't have the same environment or the same feeling as training in a gym. I know a lot of people online have actually, obviously you're not supposed to, but they've been kind of doing having a drive around the block, listening to music, having their pre-workout, and it's something that you might do on the way to the gym, kind of keeping that routine. Now, obviously, it's not advised. You shouldn't really be making those essential journeys, but it's the same principle. Get into somewhat of a pre-workout routine. For me, I've been waking up, I'm having breakfast, and I will have, say, an hour beforehand just to let that food go down. I'll spend 10 minutes before my workout just writing everything down, and then I hit it. And just getting into a consistent routine has really helped me. Training at the same time each day, like you said before, that's all of these kind of consistent things is going to get you into that mindset of, okay, I'm training again. Okay, I'm going to plan everything out. I'm going to try, and you have those short-term goals you're going to aim for. You're going to kind of, I always shadow out kind of last week's sets and reps in my logbook, and I'll say, okay, I really want to try and beat an extra 2 reps or add some extra weight here. And that really is kind of something that kind of helps me stay motivated during my training.
Yeah, I think that's a very good sort of a very good in-depth talk about training routines. I think, touching on, a pre-workout routine, I think that one is the most important. And then having a decent pre-workout routine in place will then set you up for a good mindset throughout your session. So if you're probably eating and then going into your workout 5 minutes later, you probably, it might be different for some people, but I certainly know I wouldn't have a good session. So like you said, mine's very similar. I wake up, I get ready, I'll have breakfast, and then I'll sort of have maybe 1.5 hours in between, letting my food go down, writing out my numbers, maybe even watching some YouTube on some home workout videos, or catching up on some videos from, I don't know, JP or AJ, those sort of people, to sort of get me into that mindset. And then as soon as I walk into the garage or walk outside wherever I'm training at the moment, that's it. Then headphones are in, head is on, and, looking at previous numbers, going to beat them. And then that's how we then get to short-term goal setting. So I think, I think those two personally, again, my top two favorites in sort of training motivation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it all comes back to that point of just not worrying about things you can't control. And if you can get your training sorted, if you can get that right, then everything else is kind of, you've got one less thing that can go wrong in your day. I find if you can get small successes, then that's one less thing that's gone wrong, even if it is something very small, like even if it is just waking up at the same time every day, weighing yourself after you've woken up every day, having that consistency, that's one less thing you have to worry about. Planning your meals, it's the same kind of thing when trying to do, say, a diet, starting to track food. If you can potentially have a meal or two which is the same each day, or something, or a few meals that you cycle between and they're not too different, don't have to think about it too much, it's one less area for you to go wrong. And if you can just you can get those small successes throughout the day, then obviously that's going to kind of keep your motivation high and keep stress low.
Yeah. I think that's pretty perfect. Is there sort of any other ways that you personally have been using to sort of stay motivated at this point?
I don't think so. If I find any more, then obviously I'll let you know.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing sort of I would say maybe, sometimes, not all the time, I don't need it all the time. There are a lot of good motivational talks, motivational videos, sort of that sort of thing on YouTube, SoundCloud. I'm not sure if there's some on Apple Music, but there is, again, going all the way back to that point about using technology. If you're not feeling motivated, do it. There's no harm in using a motivational video, or a motivational talk to sort of get you maybe psyched up for your session, or getting you in the headspace. That's certainly something, I used to use all the time whilst I was at uni. My walk up to the gym when I was at uni, I would put on a couple of motivational, just talks with a bit of music and someone just basically shouting at you. And that set me up. And I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that all comes back down to kind of that long-term goal. If you know what your long-term goal is, if you know where you want to be and why you're doing things, finding your why, that definitely really kind of sets me going. Um, Looking back at training successes and just successes in the past, and thinking, okay, well, I've really done well in the past. Where am I going to go from that? Looking back at old Instagram videos, looking at kind of squat PBs, that kind of thing, and just the passion in the gym environment. It's like, okay, that's getting me in the right headspace to then smash the training session at home.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So I think we've gone into a decent amount of detail without sort of blabbering on as we have done in the past.
Yeah.
On those two topics. So I think sort of maybe to close up the podcast, we'll just go through a couple of questions. So I think we'll try and keep this pretty regular. The day before or a couple of days before the podcast, we'll whack a question box on our Instagram stories, and you guys can ask some questions you'd like to hear us, dive into at the end of the next episode.
Yep.
So I've just written down 3 here that I think are pretty good to go into. So the first one is, what is your favourite protein-packed meal? Yeah, so I kind of thought this was a good one, as we've all got a bit of extra time now to prepare our food, to maybe go into a bit more um, thought about what we're going to be eating. Um, so at the moment, I think my sort of favorite protein packed meal, um, it would have to be the oat cake sort of thing that I'm making in the morning. I put a recipe out on my Instagram, but I basically dry mix oats and protein powder together, and then slowly add water so it's like a paste, and then just pop it in the frying pan, 2 to 3 minutes aside, and a bit of honey on top. I think that comes out as, depending on how many oats you use, if you're using 100 grams of oats, I think it's about 60, 70 carb, um, 10, 12 fat, and about 40 odd protein. And then with honey, that adds another 20 carb or whatnot on top. But that would have to be my favorite one. I have abused that one for breakfast for the past couple of weeks, every single day. So I don't know what you would shout for your one.
Yeah, I mean, oats and a protein powder, it's works just the same. I think obviously our calories are slightly different. You're on lower calories to me. So for me to make some protein pancakes, a massive amount of them, I think I don't have the patience for that. So it's all in a bowl. I normally just have oats, 2 scoops of protein powder, and some raspberries. So that works really, really well
Yeah.
for me.
Cool. Thoughts on creatine and when to use it? Do you use creatine?
I use creatine, yeah, currently. I mean, I'm running out, but
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
I do use it currently.
Yeah. So thoughts on creatine? Yeah, amazing. I think it's one of the most researched supplements out there. I think if you're training hard, looking to gain a bit of extra muscle, even whether you're dieting or not, I think it's definitely worth implementing. It's also cheap, which is another bonus for a lot of people. When to use it? I know a lot of people say you need to load it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, at like 20 grams a day. No, you don't. Just 5 grams a day every single day, rest day included, and eventually you'll get saturated. And then if you just, as long as you keep that consistent, you'll be fine. When to take it would be the next thing. It doesn't matter, whether you're morning, evening, training or not. Just as long as you remember to take it. So I like to take mine in my intra workout shake. So what I have at the moment in my intra workout is 50 grams carbs from a dextrose powder, 15 grams EAAs, and 5 grams creatine, every single day. And then on my rest days, I will just take it with my first liter of water of the day. So I'll just pop 5 grams in there. Watermelon flavor at the moment, so tastes pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if you've got anything to add on to that.
No, I think it's, yeah, again, just getting into a routine. If you don't do it already, then just have it in, say, your pre-workout routine. It's easy to get in. I think initially when I started taking it, it's quite a strange thing. It's not really. I have unflavored one, so it's not like you put it in water and you're like, oh, like it doesn't have a taste to it. So
Yeah.
I think I have it with my pre-workout currently, just so it's kind of that routine. Get the glass, scoop of creatine, scoop of pre-workout, off I go.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing with it. I think as long as you remember to take it 5 grams a day, it doesn't matter if take it morning, evening, middle of the day, as long as you're taking it consistently every single day. Personally, I would try and keep it at the same time every day, but that's just from a routine perspective. Yeah, that's right.
Fair enough.
Yeah, do you want to do the last one?
And the final question is, what is the structure of your home workouts? Now obviously, you mentioned you do push-pull legs. Currently, I've also mentioned I'm kind of on a 4-day cycle, so I'll do lower body, upper body, and then a shoulders and arms day, and I'll have abs on that day as well, and then one rest day and repeat. With the addition of having trestles now, so I've got something to put the bar on. I am starting to kind of mix it up a little bit, have that 4-day cycle, but potentially have like an upper A and an upper B. So every 4 days, I am actually kind of changing the upper and lower body sessions. One, so I'm not getting kind of stagnant on those exercises. It's a bit boring just doing them again and again and again. Progress is very nice. I am progressing very, very well because I'm doing them quite often. But now that I can squat, if I was to squat and deadlift on the same lower body day, I'd be ruined. More so than I already am on lower body days. So I normally just have the lower body day. One day I'll do squats. Then I'm following that, I'll have an upper body day where I'll do bent over rows. There isn't as much of a lower back loading on that lower body day because of the squats. And then the day that I do deadlifts on my lower body day, I will have some sort of a chest supported row instead. But yeah, anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I'll just go. Obviously, I said push pull legs. It's a 5-day split, so I'm doing push pull legs and then rest on Thursdays, upper lower rest on Sundays. So at the moment, obviously, I don't have as much kit as you do. Slowly building my own on a day-to-day basis. I put a couple of videos on my Instagram, squatting, benching. On those days I can build sort of my own bench press or my own squat rack out of a couple of dining room chairs and some planks of wood. No, it's not ideal, but it does work. Again, my progress is still very, very, very good. Going through the roof sort of every single day. Outside of my main compound movements, so I'm still squatting, still benching, still deadlifting. The weight is tough to get because I don't have lots of plates. So, I am loading things up on bags using the hanging band technique, but with like Sainsbury's bags for life sort of thing. So the weight is harder to progress. But outside of that, I'm using resistance bands. I've just got a new 11-piece resistance band set that came last week. So using that, mixing the bands up. So, adding blue, black, green, red, and yellow, I think, to create the most amount of resistance, or working my way up to that as progression. And then, outside of that, I've got some very light dumbbells. So using those with a mixture of the bands, just looking for that sort of novel stimulus every training session. But that's pretty much it.
That's pretty
Trying
good.
to mimic what I was doing in the gym as closely as possible.
Nice. And I think that's about it. I don't think we have anything else. We've covered obviously managing stress and your training motivation, and a few questions at the end. So I think we're pretty good to finish off there.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. So obviously, leave a like, some comments as well. The usual stuff. But yeah, if you do have any topics that you do want covered or any questions, then do feel free to message us, or yeah, obviously leave a comment. Because we do want some ideas. We do want your kind of input on what you want to learn about. And if we know about it, and if we're willing to talk about it, then obviously we are going to kind of give that information the best way we can.
Yeah. And we'll look to get a good few guests on at some point, just to go over, some different topics that they've got lined up and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Cheers, guys.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.